All right, here we go. We're going live in 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our weekly podcast of mental health awareness with JAWS Coffee Chat. We are here today with the C-SNAPs to guide us through some wonderful information. We'd like to give a special shout out to a few participants that replay our shows on their platforms. That would be Marcus Hart of Transform You Media, Zach Clayton of the PAC Channel, Jay Stoyan of the Disability Channel, and Lawrence Wingate of Wingate TV. We always appreciate their participation and sharing our podcasts on their platforms. So be sure to share, like, and subscribe to all the different social medias. We're on LinkedIn and YouTube and all those different channels. So let's just get to it. Today's topic, I believe, is anger and forgiveness. Let's talk about some good mental health. All over to you, C-SNAPs.
All righty. So for today, I want to define what anger is. So anger is a strong feeling of annoyance, displeasure, or kind of hostility. And then I also want to define some other things that people associate with anger, which is hostility and aggression. So aggression is the action or an act of attacking without provocation, forceful and sometimes overly assertive pursuit of one's aims and interests. And then hostility is acts of warfare. So when you've hit hostility, then you're kind of just going at it full blast. So another way to describe it is anger is a feeling or emotion that ranges from mild irritation to fury and rage. Many people often confuse anger with aggression. So aggression is the behavior that is intended to cause harm or injury to another person or damage their property. And then hostility, on the other hand, refers to a set of attitudes and judgments that motivates aggressive behavior. So anger, aggression, and hostility are not the same. By those definitions, have you experienced any or all three of those feelings?
Anger, definitely. I don't think you can make it through life without being angry at some point.
Right.
Aggression, let me think about that. An action or act of attacking without provocation. I feel like I have been the victim of aggression. Yeah, I've probably been aggressive to someone, misinterpreting what was going on, or just being in a bad mood or whatever, and somebody say something that just sets me off. So yeah, I could probably have reacted without provocation. Hostility, from that definition, no, I don't think so. Not really full out like warfare going at it.
Right.
I would tend to walk away after the aggression level rather than be willing to go at it full force.
Right.
I would go into avoidance mode at that point, I think.
I understand. Yeah. So I'm kind of the same way. I kind of stopped at aggression. I never really hit hostility, but then I thought about it. Hostility can take forms in different ways. Like you might not act on it, but you can still feel hostile on the inside. And you know that I was telling you about those feelings that I had a while back. And you know, when you get those hostile feelings, then you should definitely seek out someone to help you. So I feel like in a way I've experienced all three of those, even though I never acted on hostility. I've in some form experienced the hurt inside.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I can agree
then-
with you on that one. I've been there too.
Yeah. So, and then as far as anger and aggression, I've experienced both.
Yeah.
So,
I don't think anybody in this world can say they haven't. No, not anger. I don't think there's anybody in this world who could say they've never been angry.
right.
Aggressive, there might be some that are very passive people that wouldn't be, into the aggression part, but yeah.
Right. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm aggressive as far as want to harm another person or damage their property.
Right.
Most of the time, if I'm aggressive, I'm usually passive until somebody attacks me. And then I
Right.
feel I have no choice to react, which brings on my aggression, even when I do try to stay in that calm state.
Right.
All righty. So most of my notes today are taken from my anger management class. Although I cannot give you everything, I will try to give you a bit of what I can from anger management. So let's get into it. Anger management is basically developing self-control over your thoughts and actions, and it requires practice. Do you think anger was something that do you think anger is something that is in your control, or do you think that you can't control yourself when you get angry?
Personally, yes, I think I can control my anger. I know there are people who can't. It's kind of like alcoholism. There are some people who can handle having alcohol, and there's others who cannot. Their bodies just don't react well to it, and they can't control it. I think I'm one of those who can control my anger. I can be angry, but stay in somewhat in control.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So same for me. I can stay somewhat in control of my anger. Mostly probably like you said, because I'm a passive person. So staying calm is kind of where I like to keep myself. If it is important to receive support from others, it's about putting yourself in a situation that makes you feel safe and secure. So, do you try to seek out support from others when you reach anger mode, or do you just try to handle it on your own?
Most of the time I reach out because I'm one of, like, the extrovert of me needs people around me when I'm experiencing things, anger or any other emotion. I wear my emotions on my sleeve.
I understand. I'm like that too, in a way. I'm getting better at not being like that. And that goes into my forgiveness state, and how we forgive.
Mhm.
So yeah. And so what do you think about anger? Is it inherited or is it learned?
It's learned. If you're around, it may seem inherited. If your parents were always angry and fighting, you may feel like it was inherited. But I think it's a learned emotion,
So you're
and how
right.
you deal with it.
That's so true. Yeah. So you're right. It's actually not inherited. It's not passed down. It's a trait that is learned. So if we become angry, it's because of something in our life that we have learned to trigger our anger. And we've learned that this is the way we deal with anger. Anger is not equal to, nor does it necessarily lead to aggression. You can be angry and still be calm. And I always think of the Bible verse. That goes, be ye angry and sin not, do not let the sun go down upon your wrath. So even if, and the anger part kind of reminds me with that verse is we need to forgive. That's where that, if you don't let the sun go down upon your wrath, which means the sun goes down, that means it's night. So that means we need to be done forgiven by the end of the day, which is kind of hard to do, because I know for me, sometimes I stay in my feelings a while, even if I'm, even if I am calm, I'll still stay in those feelings for a while. And it's like, how do you get over the feelings if you're still hurt by what happened?
And
So,
sometimes you need that break. Like, yes, you can say, let's table this for now, and
yeah,
not still be, butting heads. But sometimes you need that break overnight to get the body chemistry back and to separate yourself from it enough to where you can go at it again from a better place.
right. So true. I like that. Yeah.
So I've always struggled with that particular verse in the Bible. I agree with it because, one, it's the Bible, but at the same time, some things can't be resolved by the end of the day.
That is so true. Yes. And I
Some
feel
things
that way
take
too.
longer to be resolved. And
Yes.
so you can maybe dial back the rage or dial back the anger
Mhm.
overnight, but it not be resolved.
Right. You made me think of something. So it says, don't let the sun go down upon your wrath. So I guess it's saying get rid of the negative emotion. So I guess if that means that you have to meditate, take that self-care time to relax, to get over, you don't necessarily
Or
have to
dial
get
it
over
back.
Yeah, dial it back. He didn't necessarily say get over it overnight. He just said, fix your emotions before you go to bed that night.
Yeah.
Kinda. Yeah. So that's good.
Because I've had to deal with that. There have been times where you can't resolve an issue when you're still angry, when you're still in the heat of the disagreement.
Right.
You've got to walk away from it to get new perspective, to get a less emotional reaction to what's going on. And that's what anger is. It's an emotional reaction.
Right.
And you have
So
to
what's going
step
on?
away from the conflict before you can see it from a different perspective or accept it, agree to disagree,
Right.
come to a compromise, all those different conflict resolutions you can't do when you're in the middle of the fight.
That is so true. Like looking at it from a different perspective and trying to approach it from a different way. You can't do that when you're in the fight.
Mm-mm.
That is so true. And so with anger, anger is mostly, from what I got out of anger management, it's mostly using your words. Anything beyond that becomes aggression,
Right.
And so aggression does not get you what you want in the long run. For example, if your business does not produce a profit or a return on investment, just like in business, you should not invest your time or energy into that. It's the same with aggression. If you're constantly throwing things and doing all of that, you're not getting the results that you want.
Mm-mm.
And you probably still, after doing all of that, may not get the results that you want, even after you use aggression.
Yeah. Sometimes anger can get you what you want if it wakes somebody else up to the point you're trying to make. But you're right, aggression will never get you what you want. It just gets defensiveness in return.
That is so true.
Most of the time, anger is going to just get defensiveness in return.
Right.
What's the saying? You get more,
catch more flies with honey.
Yeah, exactly. But occasionally the anger will snap somebody's attention to go, oh, wait, I didn't realize that's what was going on, or whatever the result is. But most of the time, anger is not going to get you what you want either. But aggression, I agree, aggression will never get you what you want.
Right. So here's something that we went over. So screaming into screaming into or punching a pillow is not healthy. It's just teaching your body how to be angry and use aggression. So have you ever experienced somebody saying, oh, if you're mad, just go do some kickboxing or go punch something or go scream in your pillow or, things like that. Have you ever experienced, that before where somebody's telling you to do that?
Yeah, I've done that. I haven't done that. I've been told that, just go scream, go outside and let out a verbal scream. And their point to me at that time was to release the pent up, because I held all my anger in.
Right.
And so that was disruptive to me. So it was a way to release that
into the
energy. Yeah. Release that energy without putting it at someone.
Right.
Myself included.
Right.
It's better to do it into a pillow or a punching bag, or to get the endorphins going by, an exercise of some sort, to use that aggression that way to keep from going at someone, which is never a good idea.
Right. So I was taught you have to be careful with doing that. So I'm going to give you some examples, because I used to do that too, because like you said, I'm the type, I hold my anger in, and I don't even know that I'm angry until the point that I just can't take it anymore. And I'm just like a top, and it just goes off. And I'm like, just go away. And I'm screaming, just go away, like that. And so I found that screaming into a pillow and punching things and things like that is really not the answer, even though we thought, that we're releasing that into the atmosphere. It really goes deeper than that. So, for example, if you're in dance or in any sport, you probably heard the term muscle memory.
Right.
So muscle memory is a neurological process that allows you to remember certain motor skills and perform them without conscious effort.
Right.
Skill retention from muscle memory can potentially last forever, barring neurological and physical ailments. So, like in dance, you basically make these movements unconsciously in your body. The same is with anger and aggression. To react like that, screaming into a pillow or punching it every time you feel angry may come with more consequences in the long run. So now, to put it into perspective, if you get angry at your boss and start punching them because that's how you react at home, subconsciously, your body is going to use its muscle memory every time and react to how it feels, which is in turn, you're acting out something that was supposed to be like something simple that you do at home in your privacy just to get rid of your anger, but it's already attached that emotion to those actions. Sorry. And so it's by it attaching those emotions to those actions, then you've kind of like, you've subconsciously told your body, this is how you react to anger. So,
and it could accidentally happen in the moment rather than, I guess, the muscle
right.
Whereas going to work out, your muscle memory becomes walk away from the anger, go do something.
Right.
Rather than I'm so angry, I'm here, I'm angry. Oh, I'm just going to scream into a pillow or yell or whatever right then. You've got to add that step of the muscle memory to walk away, to go do something, to go release it into the atmosphere.
So it's teaching yourself to, like you said, to walk,
walk away.
Don't take a break. Don't experience it, because you've attached that to that. And so your body it's like a habit. So I know that every time I get angry, I am going to react this way, whether you want to do it or not. Your subconscious kicks in. And a lot of times, a lot of people's subconscious kicks in and they don't even realize that it kicks in.
Exactly.
And so you're doing things and you're like, oh, I really didn't want to react that way, but that's the way I reacted. And it's because of your subconscious.
Mhm.
I
Yep.
think we talked last week about the subconscious memory and how it kicks in. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, I mean, 2 weeks ago, we were on break, Labor Day.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yes, okay. So, anger is only a problem if it's too strong of a feeling, experienced often, or leads to aggression. Anger can become a maladaptive or automatic behavior. You can break that anger by becoming aware and thinking, understand by becoming aware and thinking, understanding your triggers, and observe the consequences from your actions. So, with that, I know for me in counseling, they've taught me a lot about making your feelings, becoming aware of your feelings. So, oh, I feel angry right now. And just taking that time out to say, well, why do I feel angry? And like processing it instead of saying, I feel angry, I got things to do, I'm continuing on, you know?
Mhm.
So if I'm continuing on, I don't have time to sit down and process those feelings. I have other things to do than worry about anger. And so when you have those feelings, then you tend to continue feeling that way.
Yep.
So yeah.
One of the things, something that came to mind there is something my mom said when I was younger is that if you're angry about something, stop and figure out, not just stop and figure out why, but look to yourself, because if you're angry about something, it's probably something that's within you. Does that make sense?
Right.
I
I was
forget
gonna
how
get
she
into
said it exactly, but if others are making you angry, it's probably because of something from within you. Like if I get angry about a situation, what in my past has it, am I feeling guilty? Is it really guilty that's making me angry about it? Am I guilty of doing what it is that they're saying? You know, that kind of thing. Does that
Right.
make
Yeah,
sense?
no, it totally makes sense. It actually, I was going to bring that up in forgiveness because
Okay.
a lot of that is when you're not forgiving someone, it's more than likely something that you've experienced in your past and they've triggered your past and brought it to the present. So you can't forgive them for what they've done because you're you're stuck and you're like, oh, they just did that behavior, so they're like that other person,
Yeah. It's
kind of.
like there's some days when everybody's just ticking me off
Right.
and it's all their fault. They're the ones making me angry. And I have to stop and go, wait, if everybody's making me angry, maybe I'm the problem,
Right, 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 right,
you
right.
know? So, yeah, I
Yeah.
get that one quite often. It's like, okay, the whole world is ticking me off. Maybe I need to find out why they're not all wrong. The whole world's not wrong
Right,
most
right,
of the
right.
time.
Most
Most of
of
the
the time. Most
time.
of the time. Right.
They could be, but it's probably me.
Well, and then comes the situation where, they say, do you want to win the battle or do you want to win the war? And so
Yep. Yep.
and we'll talk about healthy ways to, even with forgiveness, healthy ways to kind of deal with deal with situations that people that you feel that you're in, um, that you feel people have put you in, and how to deal with those. Because sometimes the only way to deal with those is to temporarily remove yourself, um, to so that they'll know that you're not so to temporarily remove yourself that so that you'll know that you're not experiencing those problems,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah. um Also, you can use different strategies to deal with anger. One strategy is the anger monitor, So every day, monitor your anger levels. The lowest level is 1, which means you're not angry at all and you're completely chill. And then the other being 10, the highest on the list, which means you're being ready, you're ready to just blow up on someone in a negative way. And that can really, if you're at a 10, that looks like aggression, hostility, those type of things. So
Right.
just a question, have you ever tried anger monitoring?
I have, and I know my daughter was taught that as a 6, 7-year-old, because she would, of the situation she had been in, she would just blow. She had no level of building on it, and she would go from 0 to 10 like that. And so they taught her to use like a curve. Are you okay in here? And if you get up to here, then you need to stop
Mm-hmm.
and think about it so that you don't go all the way over on the other side of the spectrum and just blow up and just be out of control.
Right.
So yeah, she was taught that pretty strongly, and it helped a lot with her. I mean, as a 6-year-old, you don't understand what all's going on and
Right.
what all's coming at you and why you're feeling this way. You just, because you have no control
Right.
of yourself or the situation. Life is happening to you at that point, and she couldn't deal with it, so she would blow.
Right.
So yeah.
So that's normal for a lot of children to like blow up, throw a temper tantrum, or anything like that. But if they're constantly monitoring their anger, then they are ready to like, if they're constantly monitoring their anger, then they'll change and it'll flip over to something positive. I know for something that I do with the young people that I take care of, I sometimes will have like chat sessions every evening to say, how are you feeling inside? What is your scale? And just taking that, it takes like, I average 30 minutes per child, but usually they can sum up their feelings in less than 5 minutes and they're like, see you later. Especially if they had a good day.
Yeah.
If they had a bad day, then they're going to go in and they're going to start saying, my day was bad. I'm mad at you. You made me mad.
But it's learning that muscle memory of how to deal with that stuff.
Right. And we're taking the time to deal with it before they go to that sleeping stage and before they sleep on that at night. So I think that's very good because now we're dealing with the anger that is inside of us instead of letting it flow out of us and onto others. Because
Right.
we've got to the root cause of the problem, we've sat down, we've dealt with it, and we've moved on.
Learned how to talk about it and how to address the things that upset you rather than just let them upset you and react.
Right. So anger monitoring is just one of the ways that you can deal with your anger, your aggressiveness, and your hostility. For more information on anger, I would say please try to find an anger management class so that you know how to deal with anger in a more positive way and it does not result in trauma for you or another person.
Right.
So I believe that that's very important when it comes to anger. So now I want to jump into forgiveness, or should I say, what is that? The unforgiveness, so that we can learn how to forgive in a positive way. But before that, I have to want to tell you about Stanley. They've been around for generations and they sell products to that can make your world a better place, whether you're mountain climbing or in your own backyard. So they're good for like camping gear, if you RV things, just anything with the outdoors, just keeping hydrated, and it's sustainable and less disposable life in that world.
Yeah, they've
Okay.
been around for like 100 years, and were built on invention, innovation, and inspiration. It's a timeless spirit. Yeah.
Okay. So forgiveness. So I'm going to define forgiveness, and then we can just jump right into, I want to start with us, how, our feelings of unforgiveness. So forgiveness is, as defined, is stop the feeling of anger and being resentful towards someone for an offense, flaw, or mistake. So that's the definition of how you forgive. You have to stop feeling angry, resentful for that person's offense, flaw, or mistake. So let's get into it. Have you ever felt unforgiveness in your heart, or just going through some type of unforgiveness?
Yeah, I have. It was many years ago, but there was an event that I had a very hard time forgiving the person for the wrong, the lies, and the manipulation that happened. It took probably 3 or 4 years of not being around that person and moving on to other people in my life to fill where what that void and pain had caused.
Mhm.
For me to, and then they called me one point and I was like, look, you need me to say I forgive you? Fine, I forgive you. I've moved on. One other event in my life, I still struggle with actually forgiving, but I think I have. So yeah, I mean, it's without being too much into the details.
Right. Yeah, you think you have forgiven. So I can say the same thing. So a lot of things that I've experienced with like unforgiveness and things like that, I've learned that I've read like different things. So with the first one, I learned that the closer the person is to you, the more the pain hurts and the harder it is to forgive. And I actually
That's true.
read that in Max Lucado's book, dealing
Yeah.
with how to deal with difficult people. So if you experience like that type of hurt or pain, it's usually because that's the person that you were closest to at that particular time. And like, and with family members, it's probably because you don't have boundaries set up in some form of way. So you're crossing each other's boundaries, whether you know it or not. And so another thing is only go if you're invited. And then be cautious of how you proceed in those situations when it comes to handling family members, because a lot of the unforgiveness that happens is because we messed up on, I mean, not messed up, but we crossed a boundary, an unknown boundary, because it was never set,
Yeah. Yeah. There's actually another situation with, now that you mentioned family, I have another situation that there was always some conversation that I don't even know how to describe this without being detailed. And I really don't want to do details,
No, you're
but
fine.
what somebody else talking about somebody else in the family.
Mhm.
And using me as a sounding board when I didn't want to be used as a sounding board. But
Right.
because I was so much younger than the person talking, I didn't feel like I had the right to say, I really don't want to talk about this.
Right.
You know?
No, I understand that. And I think a lot of young people get caught up into situations that adults really need to handle, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, if you're not handling that as an adult, then you don't want to push that off on younger people, you know? And
Mhm.
it's hard sometimes, especially if that person's pain is deep, for them to not push that off on a younger person.
Yeah.
So I understand that.
Yeah. But I
That-
found
that's it.
that, and a lot of people have said this too, and it really is true, that just because you forgive someone doesn't mean that you condone or accept their behavior.
Right.
By
So,
forget, because you forgiving them just releases you from that behavior. It releases you from the feelings that come with the anger or the victim or whatever. It doesn't
right,
say what you did was okay. That's not what forgiveness is. What they
right,
did is still not okay, but you can forgive them. Lets you out of the emotion of it.
right. So forgiveness is more, like you said, for not for you, for you, not for the other person, because
Exactly.
for the other person, they've moved on with their lives. They're probably doing something else. They don't even care that they hurt you.
Exactly.
And so it's for you to like sit down and assess, like, why am I still carrying these feelings of hurt? And so I actually just finished another book, which is Lisa Turkish. What was that book? Forgiving What You Can't Forget. And so, you know, she
Yes.
goes on to talk about um you can't, like, forgiveness doesn't necessarily mean reconciliation. And so many people are looking for reconciliation.
Yeah.
And I know I
Exactly.
was.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm just going to be honest. I
Like,
know I was.
well, that one conversation that I had where they called and asked, they were trying to reestablish a connection with me. And I was like, look, if you're looking for forgiveness from me, you got it. I've moved on. And that one I truly can say, I'm not hurt by it any longer.
Right. You've forgiven them
Yeah.
100% and you're okay with it.
Now, another situation with where I was the younger person and they were older than me. And so I didn't feel I had any
Let's say,
control in that say. Yeah.
right.
I have worked towards forgiving them for what
Mhm.
they did, and I kind of have, but at the same time, like you said, I haven't forgotten it. It's not like I have to forget what happened, because
Right.
I still have to have interactions with them. And the way I deal with things like that is I still have to be prepared for, okay, what if that happens again? What if they start that same conversation that I really don't want to be a part of?
Right.
How am I going to stop it now that I know I'm old enough? I have a right to say boundary.
Right.
Don't talk to me about that situation.
Right.
You're an adult, put on your big girl panties and get over it yourself, because the point of anger is no longer, the person they're angry at is still has already died. They're not even here anymore.
So that feels
And
like it's
I'm
just
anticipating them bringing that same conversation up again. And the next time we're together, I'm
right.
like, you need to get over it. And I don't want to talk about it. You don't have a right to tell me those things.
Right. And
Yeah.
that kind of goes into our other subjects that we've talked about on the show, which is like grief and things like that. She's probably grieving. And, you
Mhm.
know, that goes into when things are left unsaid, you know,
Mhm.
then they have a grief and they feel a loss. So you might just bring
Well,
that up to her
yeah,
next
well, no,
time
this
if she
is
ever
she's
mentions it again.
yeah, this is more of an anger situation, but she's angry at somebody who's gone now.
Right,
So
that's
she
what I'm
needs to
saying.
get over it.
So the anger, what it is that it was probably grief inside. And now that it's been so long, it's turned into anger. So I'll explain it to you like this. Because you got to remember when we talked about grief, I said it can be anything. If it's a loss, it can be
Mhm.
anything. You lost your job, something simple, or well, to me, losing a job is not something simple, but
Yeah, I know what you mean.
but it's not death either.
Right.
So, but it's a loss of something. And, you know, when you lose something, there was some loss there, I'm sure,
Oh, yeah.
that happened, which is causing the anger. And it can be when you get anger rooted that deep, it can turn into bitterness because you've never actually dealt with the pain. And so with that particular person, this is just outside looking in. It's it is it's pain from it's a loss, it's pain, maybe some bitterness there, but definitely the anger is coming from the grief because whatever they wanted to say, they never got to say before that person died. So
Yep.
now it's just in air, it's left unfinished, and they need to close that chapter,
Yeah.
which grief recovery class is great for that. But yes, going back to us.
Yeah.
I'm kind of, let me think, forgiveness. So with forgiveness, it was, you know, so we've experienced unforgiveness, and there are ways to get over it. And when we step into forgiveness, the healing, like you said, is for us. And it can be extremely peaceful, extremely calming. And it's more focused on, you know, like you said, it's not going to be reconciliation. It's not going to be we're best friends again, or, you know, something like that. It's more of healing the inside of ourselves. But I found out with forgiveness, just by that book that I read, that it's more, you have to deal with your past, because if you don't deal with your past is probably triggering the unforgiveness in your heart that's keeping you from forgiving, that's keeping you from that forgiveness state. You're not forgiving because of that past, you know? So
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
And then it
Because
goes back to that muscle memory of how you react to
right,
something that comes up to you now. So it's a big full circle there.
right. That aggression, that anger, and all of that all ties in together. And I do
Even
believe,
if it's a whole nother situation, how you reacted to it the previous time can affect how you react to the next time something happens.
right, exactly. So, and I believe that actually wraps up our whole series on the hurt that we experience inside of us.
Excellent. Very
Yeah.
good. All right. Well, once again, we want to say a special thanks to those that are replaying our programs on their platforms. Marcus Hart of Transform You Media, Zach Clayton of the PAC channel, Jay Stoyan of the Disability Channel, and Lawrence Wingate of Wingate TV. We also want, again, to mention the fabulous Stanley products for their support in backing us as well. Make sure you go to their website at Stanley, let's see, what is it? Stanley.org. What is it? I don't remember it. I'm so sorry. But it will be in the description. There's a link for shopstyle.it. to go to them and look at all their various products. But Stanley is there for all your adventures so that you can make the most of your world. Like C-Snap said earlier, whether you're scaling a mountain or climbing a tree in your own backyard, they'll be with you on your journey just as they have for all the generations past, helping to build a more sustainable, less disposable life and world while opening the door to an awe-inspiring future. Way to go, Stanley. Thank you so much for your support. So be sure to share, like, and subscribe to the social media channels, and join us again next week, September 18th, for our next episode of Mental Health Awareness. Any final words, C-Snaps?
No, enjoy the week and have fun.
And get outside and get you a Stanley Cup.
Yes, those are really good.
They are. They're excellent. All right, everybody. Take care until next week. Have a safe and enjoyable week. We'll talk to you then. Bye-bye.